Well, you got a thing.
Okay,
you're
I got
ready to
that
go. You
thing
got a
already.
thing. You got a bee in your bonnet.
All right, I've got to be in my bonnet. Hi, I'm Jay, and this is Dave, and we're back for another Dave and Jay show. And you know what? Today I want to talk about the number one issue for the young people, the young voters. It'll probably be the ballot box question for a lot of young voters, and that is climate change, and what the hell are we going to do about it? And, I want to start, Dave, by reading an article that I found. The Arctic Ocean is warming up, icebergs are growing scarcer, and in some places the seals are finding the water too hot, according to a report to the Commerce Department yesterday from the U.S. Consulate at Bergen, Norway.
Wow.
Reports from fishermen, seal hunters, and explorers all point to a radical change in climate conditions and hitherto unheard of temperatures in the Arctic zone. Exploration expeditions report that scarcely any ice has been met as far north as 81 degrees 29 minutes. Sounding to a depth of 3,100 meters showed the Gulf Stream still very warm.
Wow.
Great masses of ice have been replaced by moraines of earth and stones, the report continued. And it goes on and on and on. It's catastrophic.
This sounds terrible,
But
Jay.
I must apologize. I neglected to mention this report was from November 2nd, 1922. As reported and published in the Washington Post 96 years ago. I thought that was a great lead into our discussion, Dave, about this crisis, this emergency. We've got mayors across Canada declaring a climate emergency. We must do something. We must act now. And of course, the young people have soaked this in, and they are just beside themselves that their politicians, there are actually protests going on across the land, protesting the fact that this is not going to be a central part of the leaders' debates in the election campaign.
Well, I think a lot of the verbiage you use there is really the new verbiage too. You talked about climate emergency, climate crisis. It was okay back in the beginning when the alarmists started telling us about our changing climate. They just said, well, it's greenhouse gases, it's the greenhouse effect, it's global warming. CO2. Now it's an emergency, Jay. We're on the verge of an apocalypse, which is what happens. The activists change the language. They gradually change the language, ramp up the language until, as you suggest, a lot of pliable minds start to believe the emergency, the crisis. So I think the activists have got a long-term game plan doing this, and they're ramping up the rhetoric. People like Elizabeth May, who leads the Green Party, is the high priestess of alarmism. This woman is out of control, but she is driving this fear, right? It's a fear campaign, Jay, isn't it? And it's a fear campaign by the left so that they can tax you. It's a campaign of control. Is there climate change, Jay?
Of course.
Of course there is.
All of us believe in climate change. The climate's been changing since time immemorial. But the fact remains that even on this issue of how much of that is changed, how much potential global warming is there that's caused by man-made emissions, that's where the great debate is.
Yep.
And if so, even if that is so, what can we do about it without crippling our economy?
And the idea that the terminology, again, people like Elizabeth May and many others say, well, you guys, the science is settled. The science says. Scientists say. Well, that's not true, Jay.
It's not true.
Science is never settled. I just saw a report the other day that science is now going deeper into the origins of the Earth. And they might have missed the age of the Earth by 1 billion years or so because they're discovering new things in rocks. The rock strata on the Earth keeps changing because the Earth is always changing. So these kinds of things mean that science is an ongoing pursuit. It's never settled. So to say the science is settled on global climate change or global warming is not true. Absolutely not true. There are more and more. I could start waving papers all over the place about scientists who are saying no.
Probably for every 10 or 20 or 100 scientists that you can line up on one side of the argument, you can line up an equal number of scientists on the other side that say, whoa, wait a minute, the data is not foolproof. There's trends one way or the other.
They're trying to talk to younger voters who may not know some of this history, some of this background that we've been talking about. The idea that they haven't faced what it will mean if in fact there is this climate emergency. Now what? What are you prepared to do as a 20, 30-something in Canada
As an
today?
individual.
What are you going to do to stop it?
Yeah.
Are you going to stop driving your car? Are you going to stop using plastic because that comes from fossil fuels? What are you going to give up? Are you going to stop using your phone because you can't because there's a fossil fuel connection to your phone? What are you prepared to do? They haven't thought of that.
No.
It's somebody else's problem.
Well, it's all what the government should do. What the government should do to solve this problem. But once again, Dave, we're running out of time. We could go on about this issue as we have so many others. We could go on and on and on, and probably
I
some
hope
people
the
out there-
debate continues. The
I hope it
debate
does.
is not over. It's not
And I
finished.
hope the young people challenge their professors and challenge their teachers that are teaching them that all one side of this argument. Anyway, that's
All
it.
right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Remember to subscribe and share.